Harmeet, thank you so much for joining us. You're the CEO of the Center for American Progress. Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about some of these detransitioner lawsuits that you guys are wading into as of late.
Well, the Center for American Liberty has been focusing on fundamental civil rights issues, and most recently, we've been involved in representing both parents whose rights have been violated by their children being transitioned behind their back in California schools, as well as young women who have been butchered by physicians before the age of 18 through sex mimicry surgery, as well as cross-gender hormones and puberty blockers.
Now, you're representing Chloe Cole in her lawsuit against the medical establishment. I know she's suing not just Kaiser, but also the doctors that perform these surgeries on her and some of the therapists, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
as well.
that's right.
Do you think Chloe will be successful in her suit? And what do you find the most egregious about all of these claims that she is accusing these doctors of?
What happened to Chloe and other girls, including our client Layla Jane and others in the pipeline, is so wrong on so many levels, I hardly know where to start. But first of all, these young women, and it's mainly women who are doing this before the age of 18, have been consuming social media and apps, and they are rife with the most degenerate entertainment that convinces people that they can change their gender. But it's not just weirdos on social media. It is the American medical establishment that is teaching physicians that gender is a social construct that can be, which is scientifically false. And so it's really a pervasive series of lies that gets to the point where a girl of age 15 has her breast cut off. Before that, the Kaiser medical establishment very quickly transitions girls, many girls, from I'm going through questions about my puberty, I'm not comfortable in my body, like, let's face it, most of us weren't as girls, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And then quickly a meeting with a psychiatrist or a social worker, and boom, one meeting. And suddenly you're on the fast track to having puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, with unknown effects on your fertility, even before we get to removing their breasts in such a way that most of them will never qualify for even breast reconstruction surgery like a cancer victim could have. They'll never be able, if they can have children, to breastfeed their children. And for what? For a false promise that surgery and drugs can change you from a girl into a boy. This is a lie. And in fact, in Europe, what we have seen is that the big medical institutions over there, which are all paid for by the state, have stopped doing this on children in many states. Country after country is stopping this because it does not solve the problem. Yet in America, we have medical institutions like Vanderbilt and just about every university that's latching onto it as a profit center. So, but I would say the most outrageous thing is that girls like Chloe had comorbidities, had issues like autism spectrum, ADHD, other psychiatric or psychological issues. Other girls may have faced child abuse or sexual abuse. None of that is diagnosed in the process. They don't treat these girls. They put them on an assembly line to mutilation without finding out whether the problems that they're experiencing and exhibiting have to do with something that could be treated with talk therapy. That's the problem.
Now, I'd love to talk about parents a little bit because just from looking at these lawsuits, Layla Jane and Chloe, and hearing the stories of other detransitioners, I think that parents often get overlooked when we talk about the egregious manipulation and betrayal of trust in this conversation. For example, I know that many young women's parents are told, would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? That's a claim we hear a lot. Can you speak to the manipulation that's going on with parents? For example, are people fully aware that their child might not be able to ever give birth, might not ever have a normal period again, things like that?
Well, here's what doctors do. They give you a clipboard with every possible thing they can disclose and have you wave it away. But there's a concept in medical malpractice law called informed consent. Mm-hmm. And simply giving you a laundry list of every possible medical incident and having you sign it is not informed consent. It isn't explaining alternatives. It isn't proper diagnosis. It isn't eliminating other opportunities and causes. And so these parents and these families and these girls were not given informed consent. That's one of the key aspects of our litigation. But beyond that, parents are being manipulated by physicians telling them that their children will commit suicide. What they're not being told is that the transgender surgeries and treatment may, and in fact often usually do, increase suicidal ideation in the people who go through it. And what is so sad is to see that, I mean, I've personally spoken to many of these detransitioners who are simply too late because of the very short statutes of limitations that doctors and medical institutions have lobbied to get. They can't sue. They're saddled with a lifetime of regret. Nobody will pay for their detransition. Nobody will pay for their treatment. Nobody will accept them. Everything is geared towards elevating and congratulating people who go through this treatment, when in fact, most of them are going to regret it. So this is so wrong on so many levels. We need changes in the law to require insurance companies to fully fund and cover detransition, which happens to most of these children. We need to mandate that a period of psychiatric treatment happen like it used to in this country before people undergo surgery. We need to hold them accountable. We need to extend the statutes of limitations for children who undergo this treatment to be able to sue the medical providers who failed them.
And you're one of the only lawyers that I know of, I mean, there's a couple, but probably the most high-profile lawyer that's actually defending these people who have been manipulated in this way. So thank you for what you do. Does it come at a cost, defending these people who won't be defended by anyone else?
So our nonprofit, the Center for Center for American Liberty, raises money from the public to do this type of work. And we get lawyers like myself and others to do it at a fraction of their usual fee. Even at a fraction of their usual fee, it's 6 or 7 figures by the time you get to trial.
Wow.
Medical experts, half a dozen or more, have to be retained and paid. Lawyers have to work up the cases, depositions have to be taken, motions to dismiss, etc. So these are very expensive cases, and that's why these people have been getting away with it. So with the support of the public and people who care and want to put a stop to this, by donating at libertycenter.org, we can help put a stop to this barbaric practice in America.
Well, thank you for all that you do, and thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.